Hello and welcome to the day 3 of the Shell E4 demo day. We are in the Q&A session with Energos, and I must say some great pitch sessions and events by all our startups. Today I'm joined by Anis, who is the CTO of Energos, and I am Siddharth, Venture Principal for Shell Ventures in India.
Hey,
We
good
will be having
afternoon,
a
everyone.
45, sure. So we will be having a 45 minutes Q&A session with Anish, where he will be sharing everything about the business, the technology of Energos, and please feel free to ask us questions. We have a small chat box at the bottom of the window where you can type your questions. It's a decently long session, 45 minutes, so we will get plenty of time to cover most of the questions, and Anish will be here with us answering those things. So with that, maybe a quick introduction from Anish, and then we can get rolling.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Anis, the co-founder and chief technology officer of Energos. Energos actually focuses on providing the services and the technology to the large organizations, especially the companies who are focusing on net zero carbon emissions. So we are offering a complete end-to-end platform, which includes our hardware, the gateway, the IoT and AI gateway, plus the platform services, which enables the customer to ensure that they are achieving their goals of net zero carbon. And we have a team, Rajesh, as well, one of our founders. He is the CEO, I am the CTO, and we form a great team working together since 2015. So we have been offering these services to our customers where they are keen on reduction of the energy. And looking at the current scenario, it is very important that how we can help our customers in reduction of the energy and save our carbon footprints.
Great. No, thanks,
So,
Anish. And before I kind of go in the detailed questions, if you're an investor and you are in this meeting room, we request you to kind of go on the investor-specific discussion room. I think that would be more kind of constructive, and then the discussions would be happening accordingly. With that, over to you, Anish, again.
okay. So we are, as I said earlier, so our focus, the key focus is on the large global multi-site businesses with net zero carbon goals with considerably higher HVAC loads and planning to move their energy, to the renewable energy from the solar rooftops or a backup storage. And as well as, they're planning to build in more EV charging stations in the parking lots. So these are the key customers where we are looking for. So our main customer base would be something like the food retail chain, the banking, the gas stations. Then we are looking for something to offer to the energy utilities, then oil and gas companies. So these are the key customers where we focus is on, and our platform. So we as a product we started offering just in energy efficiency services in 2015, and it has been an evolving. It has been evolved over the period of time, and we are offering more services. So our key thing is like providing the AI models to the for the customers, which helps them connecting their infrastructure at one level, so managing their infrastructure asset, and then moving the whole thing to providing a platform where other companies can just plug in their systems, energy systems, and help customer to help them to achieve their goals.
Great. No, I think Anish, this looks very relevant, especially given the current circumstances where we are having more and more of EVs and batteries coming on system. I think the solution absolutely is very relevant. So, given your current plans, Anish, I mean, what's the future vision of the company? Where do you think Energos will be heading in next maybe 3 to 5 years, and how you want to be successful in those areas?
See, our journey so far is like, starting from 2015, the journey so far is like we always focused on certain area. So we started with focusing on this decentralized air condition initially, where it has been spread out across the country, where there is no iotization that's been done. So we first took this as our use case. We did the pilot and then converted this to a complete services for our customer. So it was starting with a decentralized air condition where there was actually no competitors initially for us when we started this thing. So then then it moved to the same customers. So we actually keep on increasing our use cases with the customer. We learn a lot. We hear to the customer what problems they face. So we added the renewables to the same customer. So we offered the services connecting their solar rooftops. And now there is suddenly you are on the generation side and also on the demand side. So that's how the combination of the generation and the demand came into. Now, since we are on the both side of the meter, so we developed a complete AI models for automating these energy flow. So our future will looks like now, since the same customers will have the now more different types of backups, like they will have storages like batteries, they will even have EVs. So our focus would be grabbing all these systems, connecting it to the platform. So now the product as a service has grown to a complete platform for the energy, where you will be able to connect each and every system, different system coming from the, like, where maybe it's like on the demand side, on the load side, where you can connect your HVAC, where you can even connect your backup legacy systems like DG, UPS, also connect your main business equipments, like, for example, for oil gas stations, we are connecting the fuel systems to it. For the food chains, we are connecting their kitchen equipments. So all these things gets connected. And future of the EV, as the EV is coming in more prominent in the globally, so it will be good to connect your batteries. Now, when you have this battery chargers and the EVs connected, then you have different problems to solve. Now you will suddenly see that, like, when you have a charging, you have the batteries getting charged, you suddenly have a very high demand requirement. So your demand for charging increases, and it may lead to a lot of penalty or the surges. So now how to handle this thing? When you're connecting your solar rooftops or your renewable energy, it is very intermittent. Now how to handle this thing? So we have built a AI model for automating and make the entire energy flow autonomous, and which helps them in balancing the demand with supply.
Right. I know. I think that's very interesting part. And you did mention, Anis, about working with the regulatory and utility companies. So, I mean, there's a question around what are the main challenges when you are working or targeting the utility customers?
See, utility customers, what see now it's been getting transformed. So your commodity energy, electricity, which was supplied initially by the utility, was the main source of supply. Now the customer has now become a prosumer. So now the consumer has become a prosumer. They are not only consuming the electricity coming from the utilities, but also have their own generation of energy from the renewables. Some storage is there. So utilities now would look for some platform where they could deploy it. So one thing is, like, with the charging, the EV charging, the battery would come into the picture. Your demand would surge. Now utilities will see some of the platforms where they will be able to reduce the load on their consumer side, and also provide them this is something called as a demand response. So they will focus on the demand response and also help their consumers in the reduction of the energy.
Right, agree. So it's kind of a solution which is more beneficial for both utilities and their customers as well, right?
Yeah.
Right. And I think, again, maybe a follow-up question on the same thing is, does the current regulatory environment support or hinder the deployment of solutions like Energos? And how important is the grid stability in your case?
So it's changing. So we are working with the utilities in US and in Australia to start with. In India, the scenario is different, because the power failure is acceptable in India, and it is not a right. It's not treated to be as a right, one of the rights. But it's changing. It's still changing. The regulatory have actually asked the large organizations to for deploying some of the measures, the energy efficiency measures at their end. So that's the key thing that regulatory has been trying to do. And on the in Australia and US, we are trying to offer this as a platform for their consumers, which help them to reduce their demand.
And I mean, how do you kind of see, like, again, maybe following up on this question, I mean, how do you see the regulatory environment in India compared with some other countries like Australia and US, where you're also kind of having operations? How do they are
So
different, and how does it impact Energos?
So they are focused more on renewables at this point. The government of India is focusing more on renewables. There are
Yeah,
regulatory changes which are impacting the utilities, but still there are a lot to go as compared
yeah,
to the other countries. They are far the Australian and the US being far ahead from India. But I think it is coming up, so it will maybe in next 7 to 10 years, the whole thing would change, and there would be a lot of regulatory things will keep the changing. The policies would
yeah.
change, and which would impact the energy efficiency and the energy market as a whole.
Indeed, indeed, agree. And maybe I think they follow up on this, Anis. I mean, what are those key segments or the key use cases where you're working on? Can you maybe give us a summary of the important implementations?
So, as I told you earlier, the focus is on the multi-location businesses, multi-site
Yeah,
businesses, who is focusing on net zero carbon goals. That's where
yeah,
we are focusing on, and they have quite a high, considerably high HVAC load, because what
hmm,
happens for the large organizations, large organization, it is where the energy consumption from the air condition is very high. So that's one area, and the companies which are focusing on where they will be planning for the renewable energies, like putting up this solar plants, deploying solar rooftops. Then future looks like
yeah,
deploying the solar storage backups. So these are the key areas. So our key area would be like, so we have already dealt with different customers till now. We have banking, we have fashion retail chain. Now we are
yeah,
keep focusing on the food retail chain. Something to like Shell, we are focusing on the gas stations. Then on the large utilities for their multi-site
yeah.
businesses, and so this would be the key focus area or key focus segment area for us.
No,
And the
great.
use cases
Yeah,
varies from the customer segment to customer segment. So
yeah,
for the food chain, obviously it's more focuses on energy, but for food chain there would be some additional O&M activities will come into picture. There would be some assets which will be integrated for the food chain, whereas it will be the different infrastructure.
yeah.
So overall, we will be managing their infrastructure and providing the complete platform to these segments.
Agree. No, great, great. Thanks, Anis. And hey, for people who have just tuned in this session, we are having a Q&A session with Anis, who is the co-founder and CTO for Energos. Feel free to kind of type your questions at the end of the chat box, where you can put some comments, or even if you just want to say some hi, hello, or like even encouragement to Anis, I think that would be also appreciated. And if you're an investor, there is a separate room out there where you can join the investor discussion, which is happening in parallel. So great. With that, Anis, maybe like maybe follow-up question on this. People are asking, can you talk about the pilot with Shell? What is the thing you're doing at maybe gas stations and other locations at Shell?
So the Shell wants to transform their business. So now, since their goal is for the net zero carbon goal, they have said now the Shell would be start selling the battery charging and the swap services very soon, because since the EV is coming, more and more EV vehicles are coming on roads. So our whole thing, our solution demonstrated on achieving these to a single platform. So one single platform for the whole thing. So we are providing them the core service stacks. At the first level, we are focusing on how to make their energy efficient. So the energy
Yeah,
optimizing their energy efficiency. This is through their every Shell gas station has been connected to a convenience store, and the convenience store has quite of air conditioning load. They have then in the convenience store you would see there is a freezer, chillers, and so on. So, and the lightings, there are quite of lightings, the yard lights, the canopy lights, all these lights need to be on. So at the first level, we will be deploying
yeah.
the AI for controlling the HVAC loads, the freezer and the chiller loads, and also the lighting loads. So this helps in the reduction of the energy. On the second service stack, we will be optimizing their O&M cost, like operations and maintenance cost. We'll try to reduce their operation and maintenance cost by connecting these legacy devices. For example, the DG sets, the UPS, all the DG sets, and get the data and optimize the running of these devices. Then connecting to the fuel system. So there is an ATG, the leakage system is there. There is a dispenser, fuel dispensers. So all these data is available locally. So now our aim would be now connecting these devices and getting the data on a centralized platform, giving them all the alerts to the O&M team so that the quick resolution can be done. We will do the comparison, the health monitoring of the each and every equipment, how it has been performing over the period, giving them a prescriptive kind of maintenance to them, so that it will be very clear how which device with what data has been connected. For example, a fuel station, a 10 years old fuel station fuel dispenser to the 2 years old fuel dispenser, how it has been performing, how is the air conditions been so monitoring the health and optimizing the health and giving the action points to the Shell team. For example, for replacing some of the devices, for having some changes done to their the structuring, how it is to be structured. So this could be done. Then we have actually on the compliances, like certain compliances are there for that compliances data would be coming on to the cloud side. Now, next level is when we have the charging stations coming in, like when we have the batteries, and Shell is also putting a lot of solar rooftops and the gas station. Now, connecting the same system, now the same system will connect to the solar rooftop to monitor how it is, how the generation is. Then the storages will be there, the battery storage. So one single system will be connecting to all this thing in future. And moreover, now the EvoBot, which is our key gateway, which is an IoT and AI gateway, will be only one box required for all the systems connected into the gas station. So this will help in not only monitoring, but also optimizing the overall energy improve and reduction in the cost. This EvoBot also can take decisions in future how to automate the flow of energy. For example, if there is a charging point, charging of the batteries happening. So now whether the solar should give directly the energy to the batteries or to the charging point. So that decision, all the different multi-directional decisions for the energy flow from the grid, from the solar storages, from the renewable, it will be taken care by the AI running on the EvoBot.
Right. No, agree. I think that's a fantastic solution. Yeah.
So that's one of this is for the gas station. We are also working for the buildings this includes the decentralized air conditioning spread across the country. But there are centralized air conditions where we are also focusing on the buildings. Like we are doing a pilot with the STCD, the technology, this thing, where we are focusing on how to improve the overall, like there are legacy BMS sitting there. So now how to connect to the legacy BMS system, run an AI on top of it, optimize it, reduction of energy, how to get the data. So that would be our next. That is the second use case what we are doing working with Shell.
So great. I think this is pretty phenomenal, Anish. So maybe a quick question on because you would also know, like there are quite a few IoTs and energy analytics companies in the market. How does kind of Energos really differentiate with all the competition, and where your secret sauce is?
So see, IoT and AI, that they are the technology which are trending, but it's important. It's a huge potential, and it is a huge potential to solve a particular problem. But what is our difference is a domain depth. See, I talked personally about myself. I have been in this energy industry from 2002. I have seen the complete transition. I'm partly responsible for the transition as well. I've seen the German companies making, the pulse meters and connecting the data over RS-232 modems and getting the data. That was a kind of IoTization that was done, the IoT thing that was done in 2002, 2003. So I was a part who was actually building the complete solution And now it has moved, it has moved from the pulse meter to RS485, RS485 to, now it's like more like an MQTT, HTTP, and so on. So there is a huge transition from the pulse to this thing, but the problems was the same. The people want from there to till date wanted to reduce on the energy, work on the reduction of the energy. Then our huge difference is the domain depth, the understanding of the knowledge. So me and Rajesh in total have a huge experience on the energy side, and then the segment. So for example, when we get into the segment of the large multi-site businesses, so we are actually connected to the customer. So we are actually listening one of the year, because our whole method of working internally is actually working towards a customer's problem, how we can solve, what we can add. So when we get into the customer say any segment, so we are doing the use cases and learning a lot out of it and getting and working on it and providing add-on services to the same customer. And by doing that thing, we are building a complete platform. So we have built a complete platform, starting with a basic, a web-based thing. Now we have a complete IoT platform for the energy. So these are the key things that what makes a difference. Moreover, a product has been been deployed from last 5 years. It's been quite robust. It has an option. Not only initially when we started, it was just an IoT that we kept on adding, and it has become an AI. Last 3 years, we have deployed the AI models, and the energy saving is not only from the energy efficiency is not only from the rule based, but also from the model based controls. So that's the difference. And our platform, I would say one more point I would like to add on this on the differences would be like a collaboration. So we are able to collaborate with one platform which can collaborate with a different system. So if the Shell gas station wants to add comes up with a new system tomorrow, that could be just plugged in to the same technology. So you don't have to do the technology shift. So and on the customer side, they get only one holistic view of the whole gas station.
Agree. And Anish, can you maybe throw a bit of light on the interoperability of your platform with so many other vendors, which might be existing?
So interoperability, when it comes to talking to the various devices, various systems. That's what I said in the last collaboration. So when it starts, then I've spoken about the pulse meters. So talking to the pulse meters, the RS485 meters, HTTP meters, MQTT meters. So all these different devices and the systems, So our strength on integrating the devices on the field, the systems, the protocols on the field, and on the same, we have a IoT and AI gateway called EvoBot. So EvoBot can connect to any of these devices. So it has different ports for connecting on any of the devices. It has an option to connect on the cloud side, so you can connect it to various clouds, and also you can connect it to various systems incoming to it. So it could be a protocol like Modbus, BACnet. These are actually legacy protocols, but now the new protocols like HTTP, RESTful APIs, the MQTT, all these could be connected. So any device which you have a protocol, the way to communicate, soft way to communicate, that could be plugged in. On the other hand, we also have an option, the old system which don't have the option to connect it with the soft, they don't have protocols. They might have some hard connectors, they would have some analog inputs, digital inputs. So we can even connect those systems. And we have made, over the period of time, we have made it a complete wireless, so that the installation the deployment become very fast. That's very key in the IoT world, the deployment, how fast you can deploy your products.
Yeah, I mean, can you throw us more light on what's the implementation cycle for Energos? If you go on any asset, how much time do you take? When the results kind of start coming up?
So your installation would be like for a gas station would be with all the systems, including the air conditioning to the fuel system, to the DG sets and the water meter and so on. So it would take around about 2 days for the installation. So initially, so we don't need to even go on site, So we have developed a complete module for training our teams remotely, And once the team is being trained remotely, it will take a couple of days for the complete deployment. And then the service starts. As soon as the deployment gets over, the remote commission happens and the service starts immediately.
Okay,
Quite
got
fast.
it. Yeah. So, I mean, I do understand, Anis, like, I mean, there is a strong layer of technology in this, like, AI, ML kind of a platform and analytics. And you also have a hardware box, right? So what is the, I would say, capabilities for Energos in scaling up the manufacturing? Do you want to start doing some, I would say, deep tech in the hardware as well, or you want to take some standard devices?
See, there are the EvoBot has been manufactured by us, so it has been designed by us. So we have a facility where we could do 1,000 production could be done in a month's time as well. That's not a problem. So the main thing which resides is the firmware inside it, and the firmware which comes with the IoT middleware and the AI, it hosts the AI models as well. So that is there. So the 1,000 installations in a month would be possible. So that deployment, that manufacturing can be done. And other systems, see what we do is like, apart from some of the, one is a hardware box, that is the Evo, and some of the edges and some of the LoRa thing. Other than that, we use all the standard devices available in the market. For example, electrical meters. So the electrical meters, you have water meters, you have, you have different controllers. These can be connected directly. So they are already they are either available on the site, or it could be purchased from the vendors, either directly by us or can be directly by the customer directly. So that's how there is no glitches in the manufacturing and supplying the material on site.
Okay, clear. Got it. And I mean, can you just talk something about the successful partnerships which you have built in the ecosystem?
You mean to say the different customers?
With customers, with system integrators, with the key partnerships which is enabling your scaling up.
So what we have done to give you, so we have done a pilot of 1,200 installations in India currently, and we are doing some pilots in Australia and Europe and US. So this is the customer base, and these are the different types of customers. So these are banking. This is food, fashion retail chains, food retail chains. Now we are working with gas stations. We are working with utilities. We have also worked with utilities in India as well in the past for doing the demand response. So from this point, so this will these sectors, we have been focusing on few segments, and we have done the customer community is being formed across these segments. And on the other side, from the deployment side, we have system integrators or the installation team in every city, almost in every city, because we have done installations from Punjab to Kanyakumari, everywhere our installation, because since it is a IoT installation. Now for IoT deployments, it's important that you don't need large manpower for each site, but you need a very trained team, an organized project team for getting this deployed. So for us, what we have done is we have also made a complete platform for an implementation of an IoT deployments. So to make it easier for our the chip partners, so that they can connect, and they have been trained remotely. So the training, it does not the installation is very simple. So it does not require a lot of that things need to be done on site. But once it is being trained, so we certify them as our thing. So we have at least 2 installation team in all the major cities, and A-type and B-type cities in India. And also we are forming the system integration team on the in US, Europe, and Australia.
Okay, and I think maybe a follow-up question on this, Anis, is in which markets outside India you're kind of actively looking to expand and scale up?
So US would be a key market, US, Europe, and we are doing it for Australia and some of the Southeast Asian countries, because the similar kind of environment as in India would exist in Southeast countries.
Agree.
These are the countries which we are focusing as of now.
Yeah, and I think very relevant question for today is how have you dealt with the COVID year? What has been the impact, and how you're kind of dealing with this whole situation?
See, COVID has 2 impacts actually. So COVID. So we have certain set of customers from which was like non-essential part, like fashion, retail, and some from the banking area, food chains,
Yeah.
where it was essential services. So, so first thing is like, offering the services was very critical for us since it is completely internet based. So our customer services were available 100%. So we all started working from home. So we start still working. Everyone is working from home since it is an internet based thing. So we can
Yeah.
access all our devices remotely. So that's one thing. But COVID has some dents in in the months of April and May. That time it was
Yeah.
very critical. So banking was critical. The essential thing was there, so it was running. It was so. Thank God we had such some of the essential customers in our in our kitty. But from the team's perspective, we have actually reduced our team size. So we have taken some voluntary cuts ourselves. Then we have eased out some of the expenses, some of the eased out our expenses. Then but overall, working from home has increased the efficiency. Since
Okay.
there were a lot of huddles happening because the team size was reduced. A lot of huddles happening, like doing the and everything actually what we had, an implementation, like all the complete platform for deployment actually helped us, not to lose a lot of businesses. Like we were
Right. Yeah.
actually installed some of the key pilots were done during the COVID times. So
Okay,
our
that's interesting. I mean,
manufacturing,
yeah. I mean, how do you see customers behaving and reacting in these COVID times? Are they kind of stalling the work, or they are becoming more proactive because the cost-cutting measures are kicking in? What's your view there?
there is a slowdown. So overall, that's at
Yeah.
least But for when we come into picture, it's more of reduction of cost.
Yeah.
So we are
Exactly.
talking about energy efficiency. There are key
Right.
things, and then when during the COVID times for the food chain, for example, they have to keep now the dining area is open and all, but there is still
Yeah.
very less consumers or customers are coming. For us, for it is very important, for them to reduce on those costs, like the
Yeah.
air conditioning cost,
Right.
how they are performing. And since it is a COVID times, they need data remotely, so the
Yeah.
platform plays a very important role, and customers are asking for such a platform. So with the COVID
Okay.
times, we have
Right.
got new customers actually during this time, and where they were
Yeah.
more keen on getting that data remotely, the reduction on the cost on from the air conditioning, monitoring their some of the equipments, which would be very difficult to monitor because they cannot go. Their people cannot go on site. It is also difficult for
Right.
them to do the maintenance. So I think customers who are focused on the reduction of the cost, they are
Mm-hmm.
they are still going ahead with the services.
Right. Right. And then I think it looks good, right? I mean, COVID may have acted as a positive inflection point for your business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So just for people who have kind of tuned in now, we are in discussion with Anis. He is the CTO and co-founder for Energos. If you have any questions, please feel free to kind of drop them in the chat box at the bottom of your screen. And yeah, Anis would be kind of happy to answer. So Anis, I think we are in the last leg of our conversation. I would say last 10 more minutes.
Sure.
So I'll kind of try to wrap up and pick up a few more questions which I have. One is around the customer. So do you kind of have different relations with your customer? And what I understand is, are there different business models, what you're having with your customers, or there's one standard kind of an approach which you deal with each one of them?
The business model has evolved over the period of time. So it has it started with initially with some capex plus
Yeah.
the capex plus the performance based model. Now it has moved to more like a capex plus SaaS
Yeah.
piece. So it has evolved because now initially when we started the whole business, the whole energy efficiency were in the nascent stage. People were not aware how to do whether people were actually
Mm-hmm.
worried whether the savings would come or not. So they were
Yeah.
talking about more from the performance model. Now, as the people see, like as the customer sees that they are getting savings, and it is very
Right.
difficult to park the parts saving with
Yes.
with a vendor with a
Yeah.
partner like us. So they are moving towards a model where they would be paying a fixed initial cost for the capex and plus the SaaS service, the fixed SaaS service. That model I think we have moved. So there is the whole business model has evolved over the period.
Right, exactly. I mean, the customers can still retain more of the savings and give you a fixed SaaS kind of a fee. Yeah, agree. And what are some of the key challenges which you feel the business is currently facing, apart from COVID and slowdown? What are those key technical or business challenges?
Any IoT project where it involves hardware, the deployment plays a very important role. It is a make or break for a company. So how good the key challenges initially what we face is, and we constantly work on how to improve the deployment. So deployment would be one of the key challenges because it has across the country. It is just a small installation, maintenance because you have contracts with the customers. Contracts for 5 years down the line. So you have to maintain this device, ensure that the data is being communicating properly. It's been like A, B, C different types of cities where the communications, where the connections are not good. So the deployment and the connectivity plays a very important role, and we have to address those challenges, and we did that thing, by doing a lot of work on the development of the product. Focuses a lot of that. The second challenge is having the team. You have the team, and then where we are like lucky to have a good team. Our team below also was like we have Rajesh and me both have good domain expertise. Then we have team below who had who could work on technology, the full stack developers, the AI developers. Then we have business team. So we are actually lucky to have a good strong team. But the team and the deployment could actually make a lot. The challenges which each and every IoT based company would face.
Agree. And I think maybe a question on this one is again what's your strategy within the company to scale up and get more customers, right? Because we understand it may be long sales cycle, people take long time to kind of convert. What's the strategy you're following to convert?
So we are taking the customers with the multi-site businesses. So you have one gas station. If you successfully deploy and pilot has been done, you suddenly have 200,000 to deploy. So that's the scaling from that business. So we focuses on the customer from the two aspects. So they should have a net zero carbon goal. That's one thing. They should be having multiple similar can be deployed across the country or across the globe without changing any product. So standardizing the product is very important. So that's there. And for these two reasons, we are focusing only on the customers where we could multiply. So for example, retail chains like McDonald's, these are the retail chains. We work with the banks, the gas station. We're working with the utilities, large utilities. Again, it is actually a deployment. It's 1 to X, 1 to N numbers. That's how we. That's the way we are planning. That's a strategy for scaling up fast.
Agreed. Yeah, it's kind of get a foot in the door in the right space and then expand with similar standard solutions. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, we have done this thing. We had also worked with certain 1 or 2 customers. So we have learned very fast. So we know that we kept changing our strategy, kept focusing on what can go wrong. So our whole thing is learning and getting back to the board, then again changing and then going. And the strategy keeps on evolving.
Yeah, agree. And do you want to share maybe any experiences or learnings in the business by selling or working with these large companies as customers? What are those key learnings which have kind of reflected back in the business and which has improved your product or your business ideas?
So we have to be very open. First thing, you cannot go with a lock mindset to the customer. So one thing, you just go that I will just offer you energy efficiency, and the customer would like to add some O&M thing. So we always kept ourselves open and not and keep pivoting as well. So it's important that you keep focused and not get distracted and do something, start doing else. So but we always kept for all the companies, I would say, keep focused, but be open to the customer's problem, because finally you are going to service their problems. So you may need to add some add-ons. We need to give some add-ons to the customer while solving the key problem.
Agree. Yeah, exactly. No, true. I think you have to think from a customer mindset, right? I mean, what exactly do they need, and then are they open to kind of engage on these things? Very true.
Customer
So
engagement
kind
is
of,
very, very, very important. Customer engagement.
yeah, exactly. So kind of maybe pick up a light question now. I know we had like a lot of heavy discussions, but maybe a light question like, how did you find your co-founder? I mean, that should be interesting, right? I mean, how you and Rajesh kind of started to work together on
Rajesh,
Energos.
see, Rajesh and me complement each other very well. So Rajesh comes from a complete business and the strategy
Yeah,
and product, or product marketing, and that's it. And I come from more from the engineering and the technology. So
yeah,
my focus was always on. So whenever I get Rajesh gets a use case, I'm the one who jumps on it, converts it to a pilot, and the pilot,
yeah,
once it is a successful pilot, I go from how to make it, how to then reiterating the product, iterating the product, and making it possible for the larger deployment. That's my focus. Rajesh will
right.
always focus on customers, how to get the new business, so strategy.
Correct.
So
Yeah,
that's how
yeah.
we complement each other. So working with Rajesh is amazing, and he is one of the the way he thinks and way he works on the strategies are just amazing.
I agree. I agree. I mean, it's a very visionary founder, and I think that's what you really
Yeah,
want, in your team to kind of really think big.
and
So with that, I mean,
and whole team has to focus on realizing the vision what we carry.
exactly.
That's,
Yeah,
so we have to
I agree.
keep
Very true.
motivating each other. We have to keep motivating our team below. We have to build a culture below as well, so that we have the similar culture. They are also talking the same language, so we are moving all in one direction.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, from your perspective, what do you think, Anis? I mean, are the key ingredients for Energos to kind of succeed in the business you're operating in for next 3 to 5 years?
See, energy, like focus on the energy, the net zero, and how can we
Yeah,
put more and more AI we can add, and
yeah,
But the key thing is that holding the right customer, holding the right
yeah,
customer segment is very important, because
yeah.
you may get into a customer segment where you can just do one or two projects, and the scaling would be very difficult.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
the right strategy towards what customer segments and business modeling would be very key.
Yeah. And any new kind of very new areas where you have thought like, I mean, hey, I'm currently working with food chains or retail stations and these kind of things, but I also want to maybe experiment going into very new industry or new areas of working. Have you kind of given those things a thought, like, which are those critical areas where you can expand?
So the Shell was one of the things which was a new thought, getting into an
Yeah.
oil and gas industry, so this was actually not only from the optimizing the gas stations, but also from the transformation of the oil business to the, EV charging. So that's the
Right.
area where we are focusing on at this point.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Agree. And I think that would be a very different business, right? Coming from maybe food business or a retail to something doing on the gas stations, I think it's a very completely different idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Maybe one last question on the core business side. Ani says, I mean, can you share maybe on a non-confidential basis any kind of expertise which you have on the hardware side or on the software side? What are those critical things which kind of really differentiates you? I know, like we did answer this before, but maybe briefly, if you want to touch upon this thing again. Again, not sharing any confidential information, but brief introduction.
So you're talking about me personally or the company
I
and
know
Boss?
on the product side, Energos, right? I mean, what's on the hardware and what's on the software side, which really makes you stand out?
So it's completely. So there was a transition from the old technology to the new technology in last 5 years. So we are
Yeah,
completely on the new technology, the full stack. We use Python and the Node.js and all the different technologies
yeah,
for on the device side. So we are able to connect. We have our cloud as well. So we have our own cloud which works on the latest technology.
yeah.
So the communication with the devices are on the protocols which are supported with the standard protocols and highly secured medium to transfer the data.
Agree.
So it's
And
overall the full stack has been redesigned, and in last 2 years, uh,
yeah,
and it's been completely the state of art technologies we use in our platform.
agree. And hey, Anis, I think we are almost near the end of the session. So I'll kind of give the floor to you, maybe for a few minutes. Like, if you want to leave us all with the message, what Energos really, resonate with, and your vision of this company and this space.
So. So, as personally, I would like to say everyone that the energy being one of the key thing, and be the way it is impacting the climate change. We should all be very we should make energy as our lifestyle. More like focus. We should be cautious on each and everything what we do to see whether we are what impact we are doing to the environment. So that's a key thing. So I would ask everyone, like to be very cautious on this aspect. And all the businesses who are working towards it, that's a good thing. I think everyone should continue, because this overall helps the environment, and it is better for the generations to come.
Right. Yeah. And I think there's a big momentum, right, with the Paris Agreement and a lot of things kind of going in parallel.
Yeah.
I think environment is getting a lot of attention. So great, Anis. I think it has been a wonderful conversation with you. Really, thank you so much for the time and answering those questions. And to everyone who has kind of tuned in, really, again, thank you everyone for your time and questions. I'm sure this has been a fantastic demo day, as well as the session with Energos and Anis. You can still access the recordings of this session when this event kind of wraps up. We will send you the recordings link as well. And you can also connect with Energos, Anis, and Rajesh through the events webpage. So with that, thanks again for tuning in, and I hope you had a great E4 demo day. Thank you.
Thanks, Siddharth. Thanks a lot. Thanks, everyone.